you ever have a small shop?
I had so many. I am also an only child. And I often say lonely child, but it's not the case. I had a post office. I had a red Bakelite telephone, and I used to try and work that in every shop.
Sure.
I had cereal boxes for my in-and-out tray.
Right, nice. You actually made an in-and-out tray. I just dreamed of cereal box in-and-out trays. I never actually
It's
made that
possible,
happen.
you can do it.
I should point out that I'm not an only child. My sister may be listening, she'll be offended. I remember once being in maths and someone said, any only children here? And I put my hand up and someone said, you've got a sister. I went, and I genuinely thought, well, I was an only child until she was born. It just, in my head. But no, she used to have imaginary tea rooms, and she used to have the same imaginary customers that would visit, one of whom was called Miss Chubby, who they used to talk about behind her imaginary back, for being a bit of on the large side. Do you think that those were innocent times, and that actually now the modern children of today they've got imaginary, Al Qaeda cells,
crack dens?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, my, I'd say she's technically my god sister. She's my parents' goddaughter. She's vile, and she's not even 2. I mean, this is true. I mean, she's lovely and sweet and gorgeous.
She's
and you just
not.
want
You
to
can't
cuddle her.
backtrack now.
And then she slams the door in your face and has a cheeky little glint in her eye and goes, Todger. She
Todger?
knows that word.
She says Todger.
But she knows she's not allowed to say it. And my dad said yesterday, oh, you've got a lovely little dolly. Oh, isn't it lovely? What's its name? She went, Todger. Walked away. I don't know if this is going to be a problem for the future. I don't know if this is a sign of things to come, or just kids now.
You've just named the child vile. You have declared on national radio that a
Oh,
relatively
I think
vile.
it's just a phase. I do
extended
love her
family.
dearly. Yeah.
Easily backpedal. What else have you got from the Argos catalogue? I don't know why I'm so. something about Argos. I
It's
like.
those
And
big
obviously,
yellow bags.
I should point out there are lots of other shops available. I've not been bankrolled by Argos. That'd be just my luck. That of all the people who are kind of throwing me a bung, it's Argos. I get to go to the front of the queue, and I can have as many of those tiny pens as I want. Those are the perks.
Well, we can all have as many of those tiny pens as we want. It's not technically theft if they're free. It's the same with the pencils in IKEA. Right, I was actually in Argos for an hour and a half.
Wow. Was that just the queues?
No, it wasn't. It was the trying to decide what to get and trying to make it all fit into £20. And the man who was flicking through the catalogue next to me, and I believe this was all just a ruse to have somewhere to be warm and dry, stunk of beer. In fact, I fear I was getting tipsy via osmosis.
What was he buying? A bucket?
I don't think he bought anything. It was-
Quick, I
it
need
was
a bucket.
ruse.
I'm gonna throw up.
You are 8th in the queue.
Yeah, quick. That's the great thing about Argos. Some of the people behind the counter appear to think it's an imaginary shop, and are just sort of taking long kind of chats with friends. And no, they're good people. They're good people. They're smart uniforms. So you've bought what appears to be some kind of rip-off Etch-a-Sketch. It's like not an official
It's
version.
actually a rip-off Magnadoodle. It was very... I'll tell you how much it was, if I can find the price, if you want to find
Thank
the
you, I
price.
just want to inspect this receipt.
$3.99.
That's great. Although I notice you have actually spent £20.51.
There's a story behind it. I wanted to use the £20 up. I had £2.29 left. And the Argos Nazis, and I am going to go that far, wouldn't let me into their system to find out if there was anything of that price or thereabouts. They just said you're going to have to keep looking through the catalogue. I went through that catalogue 6 or 7 times. I found a pair of roll gold earrings. They're not real. And then I realised, what are you going to do with them, Stu?
Sure.
You can't
I'm
even
not
give
gonna
them
do
a
anything
lady
with them, am
friend. It's just offensive. And I got...
Elizabeth Duke is the Argos.
Duke.
Well, they should see. All I like is the idea that there is a function at Argos. You go in there, and because a lot of kids, I imagine, go in there with pocket money to buy gifts for parents. They should be able to look up the items based on price. I say kids. It may just be people on the DSS. They've got a certain amount of cash. They need to buy their kids, a gift. For
Well,
Christmas.
this is how it's going to go, because you've got the pound shops already. I've seen those superseded by 50p shops. But if every shop just sold items of a single price, then you say, well, I've got £8 on my pocket. I'll go to the £8 shop, see what I can get. Or maybe I'll have 2 things from the £4 shop.
We should stop talking about Argos now, because I fear that it will just seem like we are just heavily promoting that.
We have said Argos a lot.
We've also,
I have to say, I'm certainly not promoting it.
Stop.
I have lovely experiences there. There you go.
I'd just like to say to any bands listening that this is exactly the way that you get music played on our show. I've got a letter here from Andy from the Dials. He's personally written to me. He said how much he appreciated the fact that I played their previous single "Where Did Our Love Go" earlier in the year. It made a big difference for them. He says thank you very much. It's personally written by Andy.
That's
anyway,
nice.
he's telling me that that track is being released, I believe, on iTunes exclusively on June 18th. So let's give it another play. That's what you get, you see, if you write to me personally. You get you see, I'm easily swayed.
He works at Argos part-time.
I
doesn't he?
believe he does. The Dials, Where Did Our Love Go? I play that because Andy from the band has personally written to me. You see, if Cliff Richard did that at Christmas time, wrote to each individual DJ and said, please play my Christmas single, maybe he'd get some airplay. But instead he just whinges, perhaps on Richard and Judy. So, I think it's a valuable lesson there. If you're in a band and, it could be big or small, you might be Phil Collins, you might be some bloke from Biffy Clyro. If you want your track played on the show, then just write to me. That's clearly the way to do it, and I'm easily swayed by compliments and money. We have so far discovered that Sammy has labelled a 3-year-old relative vile, and also everyone who works in Argos Nazis, and Harry has provided very little. What's the most interesting thing that's happened to you this week, Harry?
Well, Steve, I look after a team of 6 people in the bank where I work, and occasionally you have to send them out on training courses.
Of course.
And the bank very kindly provided a team leadership, or rather a team ethics kind of course. So they sent a load of people away, including the head of the bank.
Ooh.
Like literally the biggest person in the bank.
While the cat's away.
Well, so this guy had to go on this course with the head of the bank and a load of other people, and basically you've got to make a good impression. So they're talking about teamwork and how it should work, and they brought in a guy from the Red Arrows to give a motivational speech. He was saying, well, we're all very individual, but when we're working as a team, you're flying inches away from your colleagues, so it's all about teamwork and knowing what the other person's doing. He says, so I think teamwork and team ethics are so important, and has anyone got any questions? And this girl from the Bristol office piped up and went, how'd you get the coloured smoke to come out the planes? And of course the head of the bank just looked horrified, and he said, there's a button we press. and that was it.
Wow.
So he came back with that report, and we chuckled for days.
I read something recently, I don't know where it happened. The Red Arrows, someone went to some kind of event. Was it in the paper, or did I hear it on the radio? Someone said they went to some kind of event, and the Red Arrows were billed as turning up. And they went along to this event with the kids, Red Arrows, and the Red Arrows turned up, but just the pilots, without the planes, just in, casual clothing.
Yeah.
And apparently they just showed up and went, we're the Red Arrows, didn't arrive in formation, nothing.
They didn't run around.
That doesn't count, does it? You can't. That's not the Red Arrows, just the blokes.
No, that's not as good, is it?
Particularly lame. Of course, the reason I have people in the studio is not just to offer a bit of frothy banter between records, it's also to introduce me to music. Sammy, your choice first this week, and what have you got for me?
I've got the Postal Service and From Such Great Heights. I chose this as a thank you to my friend. This is a bit odd. I wouldn't have sent in my audition to be a Shiji if it wasn't for this friend.
Okay.
So it's kind of a thank you to her.
Does she work for the Postal Service?
She doesn't know. This is probably the worst song to pick, because this is her and her ex-boyfriend's song. So I don't know if I'm just going to upset her a little bit by playing this on the radio.
It's the perfect thank you.
Never mind. I actually really love Ben Folds' cover of this, which you can find on a popular internet video site. And he did it on Triple J, but that's not on an album. But this is a really, really lovely song.
The Postal Service, From Such Great Heights, the choice of Sammy Arshije on this week's The Steve Show. I was just thinking, Harry, you mentioned about the girl who asked the question, how do the Red Arrows make that smoke appear?
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, what is the best she could have hoped for? Other than I press a button.
Yeah,
we take a series of multicoloured tablets, we synchronise our watches, at the right moment we drop our trousers. And, it's just absurd. It's so, it's great questions that people asked in training seminars. Now, I remember the great thing with the training seminars, the ones I went on, was the fact that you either knew it or you didn't, and there was no, and the people that were so stupid as to not be able to figure out how to work in a team were never going to learn, however much. My friend went to one once, and the guy, he was trying to be really dramatic, and he was a health and safety one, and he worked for a telephone company, and the guy just came, he just set fire to a waste paper bin. He just went, how would you put that out? My friend just went, I don't know, urinate on it. It's like, come on, it's such a facile question. I know, stick my face in it, what do you expect? And we need to rush to the news, but we'll try and squeeze in the new single from the Queens of the Stone Age beforehand. This is 3s and 7s. Athlete and West Side. There was an interesting article in The Guardian a few weeks back. Did you read it about... Apparently I didn't realise, but Athlete are quite a religious bunch of lads.
Yeah.
And that song actually refers to, in part, a place I think called the House on the Rock International Church in South East London, from where they came. And it was an article about the fact that... apparently there's been a big backlash against the Cold War kids, because apparently they met, or a few members met at some kind of religious event, and apparently there's been a big internet backlash against the Cold War kids, and people are up in arms because they're apparently religious, which seems rather unfair, it seems to me. I mean,
It's a bit harsh, isn't it?
you know, some of the members of the Killers, they're Mormons, aren't they? No one seems to be worrying about them.
The Osmonds.
The Osmonds, of course. People still raving about those boys and girls. And so anyway, all I'm saying is, if the Cold War kids are listening, you know, good luck to you, lads.
Mind you,
Keep doing your thing.
You slammed Sir Cliff earlier. I didn't know if there was a little undertone to that.
Nothing to do with his religiosity.
that's
More to do with his appalling music.
Fair
Which,
enough.
let's be honest, and also the man, he appears to be a terribly pompous man. Which, you know, there's one thing I just dislike, it's pomposity.
Have you sampled Sir Cliff's wine?
No, but did you see that extraordinary thing when he was being interviewed by Gordon Ramsay on the F Word, and they had a couple of masked bottles, and Cliff was being asked to taste them, and he tasted a bottle of wine. He said, "This is absolutely disgusting. I wouldn't pay for it." They revealed it to be one of Cliff's bottles. He was furious.
They kept that in.
Oh, and you can imagine that Cliff, you know, he a man who presumably is, as Woody Allen would say, has been on double dates with God, and is able to kind of bring down his true wrath on Gordon.
my God.
You know, a man who's used to effing and blinding. But Cliff was furious. You could see that genuine spark of the devil woman in his eyes. Do you know what I mean? Just really, really hateful and angry. What was I going to ask you guys about? Yes, I need to check with you, Harry, because remember you'll be going to Glastonbury in a couple of weeks' time, and you're very, very privileged and very lucky, as will super posh Rufus, who is not with us today. We've assumed he's probably cooking pheasant and
some odd wild animals.
something, and having dinner with minor royals. Threw out there last week the fact that I felt you should be obliged to sleep in a tent with Rufus, which you seem to have just poo-pooed, like these free tickets to Glasgow just are easy come, easy go, you can just take them or leave them.
Well, we're not going to be enjoying the festival in its fullness, are we? It's work.
Well, this is what I'm glad you mentioned that, because I feel we need to set you some sort of challenges.
Oh, why?
Well, because otherwise you're just having an easy ride, and I don't like that. You know?
Why not?
I have worked hard to get to a position where I get an easy ride, alright?
know,
But you, as far as I can tell, have done nothing.
I come in here every Sunday, keep you company, you know, laugh at your jokes, and this is what I get.
Well, what I'm thinking is, we'll make it simple enough, right? We want sort of suggestions from the listeners as to sort of a series of, if you like,
this
you know,
is
like the
great.
kind of tasks of Hercules, you know, minor little things. So, for instance, you know, I remember when Michael Palin went around the world the first time, and he asked a bunch of his mates, what do you want me to bring back for you? And they had to bring back kind of a roof tile from Iran or something, you know, and various things.
Yeah.
It was all quite tricky.
Yeah.
It just ruined his trips. And so what I'm looking for are perhaps similar things.
Just to ruin my weekend.
Maybe you're one listener and you say, do you know what, Harry, Rufus, I'm going to have a flag on my tent, and you know, I might be in X field. I want you to come and retrieve this
If
flag.
we're given the field, it's a possibility, but it's a big place.
It may be that you want to, you know, we want you to go and talk to someone who, you know, one of those guys that's perpetually dancing outside the Electronica tent, even at like 4 in the morning. He's
Well,
still
I'd
going.
be doing that anyway, so
Sure.
that's not a problem.
So anyway, just a few suggestions of things which will just slightly ruin their weekend. I'll send them off when we arrive to seek out these things. It may be to talk to people, to collect something, maybe just to stand in the queue for the toilets. Is there men and women queues, or is it just everyone for themselves? I can't remember.
No, they are separate, I think.
Yeah, maybe just stand in the ladies' queue so you can get all the way to the front and go in without anyone complaining. Anyone whinging.
What, are you trying to get me beaten up? Is this what it's all about?
I hadn't thought of that, but note to self: beaten up.
That's one of the tasks.
Some kind of
Quite
Glasgow
like
bruise.
to see you do this, maybe just as Annika Rice.
Oh, well, I'll be up for
Interesting.
that.
Yes, leotard. Yes. Oh, actually, I'll tell you this. I looked just. This is how opulent I am now. I very quickly, just out of interest, went on the web to find out how much a helicopter would be to Glastonbury.
you make
I just
me
wanted to
sick.
find out. I just wanted to check. Right, I just wanted to find out. Obviously, the BBC won't spring for it, but I thought out of interest, and couldn't find the information from London. But then I found one, and it was just to fly you from Bristol Airport, which is fairly near to Glastonbury, and it just flew you from there. You park your car at Bristol Airport. They flew you to Glastonbury, right?
Yeah.
£2,500.
That's mad.
20 minutes in the air.
But out of interest, Steve, how will you be getting to Glastonbury?
Well, this is why I've mentioned this, because do you have a helicopter? Are you flying people to Glastonbury for free? Get in touch. What's the email address?
It's stephen.sixmusic@bbc.co.uk.